There we go. Do you have the ability to click on the chat box?
I do. There's nothing in there right now from what I can
Okay,
see, but
good. Yeah, I just want to make sure you can click there. I'm going to give us a few more minutes before we actually jump in.
cool. You're the boss. You are driving. I'm just along for the ride.
No, we're in trouble. Oh. You have a lot going on this afternoon, Matt, after this?
Today is a not too busy of a day, which is great. A couple personal training sessions, and then digging into setting up our goal review process through the Grow system. So really making sure I'm going to start getting after my coaches to integrate their calendars, get all that linked. That's my main project this afternoon.
Yeah.
And I think I'm supposed to do something called reconciling my books, which apparently is important. So that's the other project on the
that does not sound fun. I'm going to be honest.
Lots of technical stuff this afternoon.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a busy day. The reconciling
better busy than broke,
part.
you know.
Do the reconciling first when you're like fresh and ready to go, and then
fresh, ready, fully caffeinated.
Yeah, I feel like that just automatically means you're going to need to concentrate. So that's how I usually approach those things.
I like that. It's like the eat the frog mentality.
Yeah.
But, I don't remember who coined that, but I like that idea of like whatever the hardest looking thing on your to-do list is, tackle that first.
1,000%. And then from there, it's like downhill. Like then you've got some momentum going.
Precisely.
All right, I'm going to give it one more minute and then we'll go ahead and start.
All right. Welcome, Danielle. Welcome, MB. Glad you guys are here.
There you go. You got a wave back, Matt.
All right.
All right. So it's 12:05. I'm going to go ahead and get this party started. And then as people come on, they can just join from there. So welcome, guys. My name is Michelle. I'm one of the client success specialists here at PushPress, and we're really excited to have you on the call today. So I'm going to give you an overview as to why we decided to host this event, how we're going to run through it, and then we'll just jump in from there. So one of our guiding principles at PushPress is to help gym owners continue building their business. And one of the ways that we can do that is through knowledge sharing. So with that in mind, we wanted to host an event where we could run through an interview style Q&A session with one of your peers to provide you with an opportunity to learn from one another, and also think about ways that you can hopefully use these insights to create some opportunities at your own gyms. So today I'm going to be interviewing Matt Holden, who owns Archetype CrossFit in Chicago, Illinois. Before I move on, I definitely want to stop and thank Matt for all the time he's invested in getting this initial fireside chat going and collaborating with me. It's just been a fun process. So thank you, Matt. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Absolutely. So to kick things off, I'm going to pepper Matt with a series of questions surrounding his experience in terms of launching Archetype. And then once we're finished with those, we'll open the floor up to any questions that you guys might have. You can drop them into the chat box below. One thing I also wanted to mention is that if you guys happen to have any suggestions or ideas for any subjects and topics that you think would be valuable to cover on any upcoming fireside chats, because we would like to do this on a monthly basis, please feel free to drop those in the chat box below. That would be much appreciated. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in. So I'm going to give just a little background about Archetype from a PushPress side of things. So they're currently using Core Pro, which is our member management system, and they're also on our Grow platform. Grow is a website piece that's built out for you to help generate additional leads. And then it also comes with a CRM system, which is client relationship management tools to help nurture those leads as well as enhance the member experience. So from the PushPress side of things, that's what they've got going on. Matt, how long have you guys been in business, and also what kinds of services and programs do you offer at Archetype?
We have been open since February 28th, so it's just over 7 months, about 7.5 months now. We do CrossFit, we do personal training, and we do nutrition coaching.
Nice. All right. And in terms of metrics and data, what do you utilize in measuring the health of Archetype right now?
So, of course, top end revenue is a really important one. Just growing that number, getting it to a point where it's as big as possible, but making sure that number is continuing to move. Average revenue per member is also very important to see, especially with our auxiliary services like personal training and nutrition, to make sure that those are catching on and helping to drive up the amount of value we're able to offer each person, and therefore the amount of revenue we're able to gain from each member. And those are primarily the big ones that we're looking at right now that I'm able to track through PushPress. Then, of course, things like total member count, churn rate of how many people I'm gaining and losing each month, and that sort of thing.
Do you feel like you're still in a spot where you're focused as heavily on driving membership count versus trying to think of ways where you can increase like the average revenue per member, like you've kind of graduated from one to the next, or are they both kind of going on simultaneously?
Well, luckily, because of the way we've built and grown the gym from day one, our ARM is actually pretty high, which is great. So that number is good and healthy right now. And so the big focus for this month is reducing churn. So being able to increase retention. Our total member count is just past 100. So I'm very happy with that for this point that we're at right now. The ultimate goal is to get to 150 and have that be like the cruising altitude. But the way to get there right now is to retain our members a little bit longer, as opposed to really focus on getting more people through the door. That flow is healthy. It's making sure the people out the door slows down a bit more.
Yep. Gotcha. So I know one of the things that you've mentioned kind of previously on some of our own chats is this idea of having a walk before you run mentality. And how does that sort of relate with where you're at with Archetype, and then how you approach your PushPress services with that?
Yeah. That's been a big focus for me. I'm a very energetic person by nature. And so the trap I tend to fall into is trying to do way too much at once, as opposed to like actually doing things properly and building the right foundation. So as I've been building up this business, the big focus for me has been not taking on too many things at once, and instead really doing what we will engage with, doing that well, and then growing from there. So this walk before you run mentality, as I've been doing that for the gym, is a great way. So goal reviews and checking in with each member is something that we haven't done a ton of in the past, because that was a level of complexity that I didn't have the time or the bandwidth for when it was just me.
Yep.
And so now, as we're getting into this next phase where I now have a coaching staff of 6 that's really rocking it and things are going solid, and I myself am only coaching 3 to 4 classes a week instead of 25. Now the next phase is to start integrating these goal reviews on a regular basis with people.
Yeah.
Another way that I've done that more specifically with the PushPress system is with Grow, which I absolutely love. That CRM system has a ton of really good automation built in that you can use. Now, I started off, and initially I turned off all of the automation and I did everything manually. And that was for the first like month or so, as the gym was just about to open. And I was doing like membership pre-sales, because I was really focused on my main selling point at that point. I didn't even have a space that was built out yet, and I was getting people signed up. The number one thing I had to leverage was me. I am a trainer. I'm a coach. This is going to be a local business in your neighborhood. And so the key thing was to make sure members or potential members connected with me and felt that personal thing there, where they can hear me say, this is what it's going to be. This is what's going to help you get to your goals. And they can buy into that. If it was an automation and they got a text that said, hi, thank you for your interest in our gym, or something very generic like that, that could have potentially killed their interest in the gym before it was open. So I turned off all the automation, did it all myself. And since then, as I was crawling and then walking, I've started changing all those automations and turned some back on, but to me. And so the system would notify me and send me a text that would normally, in a traditional automation system, that text would go directly to the client or the lead. Instead, I had it go to my cell phone. I would copy paste it and personally text it out to someone. That way I could change some words if need be, change the feel of the message if it was more appropriate to tweak that. And then also have it be an authentic message that I have eyes on going to that person, so that human connection is still there. And so really being able to use the system in a way that matched the speed I was at. And now, as we are 7 months in, we've passed this 100 member mark. Now I'm starting to turn on more automations and build things back out, where I can, now that I have the bandwidth and the focus, that I can start letting some of these things actually fly off to members from an automation standpoint. That's something I've loved about Grow, is how easily you can customize it to meet your needs.
Yeah. And I know we'll kind of touch on this certainly as we go through some of the other questions, but I think one of the nice takeaways from what you're talking about too is having a little bit of patience and not trying to stretch yourself too thin, especially at the beginning when you feel like you're wearing all these different hats, trying to reach all these different milestones. But sometimes what can end up happening is we spread ourselves a little bit too thin, and we're not necessarily excelling in any one area. So I think being able to kind of have a focus and prioritize some of the systems and processes that you want to start putting in place, and then creating a way that those can be scaled over time as your membership does does grow. Sounds like something that you've been strategic in doing and also disciplined in doing. So go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, yes, a bit more for survival, for my own mental health than anything else. But that's what we've been doing. It's been working.
Good. All right. So in terms of a specific strategy, or a roadmap, what does that look like in terms of what you use to drive your short-term and then your long-term growth?
Yeah, so in terms of short-term growth, we're in a pretty prominent location in downtown Chicago. So there's a ton of foot traffic that goes by. So right now, our lead flow is mostly people who are experienced CrossFitters who have either moved to the neighborhood or just walked by and saw, oh, there's a new CrossFit gym in the neighborhood. Awesome. So that's one big lead flow. And then another one is there's actually two Globo gyms that flank us, one just north on the street and one just south on the street. So the other big lead flow from us are people who are leaving the Globo gym for the first time they've been there in 2 months, realizing I don't know what I'm doing, walk by my gym and say, okay, I want to go in there where I see all those people working out and having fun. I want to check that out. And so right now, the main growth strategy is making sure that I can, again, make that human connection with these people who are interested. And it's been working well because there's enough foot traffic on the street, there's enough visibility, or if I'm quick on the draw and if I guide them through this onboarding process well, then my close rate's pretty high in terms of getting the conversion when it's finally time to ask for the sale. As we look into a long-term perspective, eventually that newness of our location is going to wear off a little bit. We're going to become just a normal neighborhood fixture, which is going to be great. It's not a bad thing by any means. But at that point, then we'll start looking at scaling our lead nurture and adding in things like Facebook or Instagram ads or Google or whatever the ad du jour is, to start really driving a lot of cold leads into the gym. And at that point, that's when I'm going to really have to level up our systems to make sure that contact is being made and that I'm taking these people through the channel. Because if I'm managing 50 leads that come in a week because I'm paying a bunch of money for ads, that's very different than managing 5 to 10 leads that come in a week organically.
Yep, for sure. So I know one of the things that has come up time and again, at least in our conversations, is that human connection, right? So when we think about some of your long-term growth, I know we've talked about some of the little things that you've done strategically, like using Grow to maintain that human connection, but that is done in a way that you can continue to scale that as your membership base continues to grow. I know you have a process in place like for birthday notifications. So I was wondering if you could kind of go into a little bit of detail about how you currently do that.
Yeah, so the birthdays is a fun one and a really good example of where I think Grow kind of shines as a system. Is I went through and customized the like happy birthday thing, whatever it's called, in the system, so that instead of it just shooting out the text to the member, the first phase of it was I had it send that text to me, and then I would copy paste and send it to the member. And that way there's a little bit more human touch. I can make sure things were correct and make sure I'm not sending it to a member who like just quit and walked out of here in a huff. Not that there's been a lot of those, but that sort of thing. And so that's been working well. Now, as the membership base is growing, I've just this week actually customized that journey. So now it will automatically send somebody a text, but it also sends me a text. So I know that if they walk into the gym and say, hey, thank you for the text, I don't have this look on my face like, text? Like I know. And so it's like that human connection isn't lost. And then the other thing is actually I added a condition into that where if they have a nickname in the system, it sends me the text so I can manually change their name to their nickname, then send it to them. If they don't have a nickname in the system, it just sends it. And so a great example is we have a member who's also named Matt. His name in the system is Matthew, but I never call him Matthew. And so if the text were to go through of Matthew, happy birthday, then that kind of takes a little bit of the authenticity out of it, versus instead that text went to me and I was able to delete Matthew, change it to Matt and say, hey, Matt, happy birthday from the ACF team. And I even have attached a little birthday card image in there that is part of the template. So it like says, happy birthday from the ACF team. And then a little like birthday card that I made in Canva for that. And that's like one example of how we leverage the system to to continue creating these human connections within the gym.
Yeah, I have to tell you too that I do demos outside of along with some of the other things I do here at PushPress, and I have mentioned your birthday notification process to just about everybody that I do a demo with, just because I think it speaks to something that it's not something you have to be super tech savvy to customize within Grow. It's really just creating a process and then being able to consistently repeat that. And it's a very small thing, but it enhances the member experience. So I've always used that as an example in terms of how you can take one little data point, right, that comes from core and ultimately goes into Grow, and kind of just create some additional steps behind it that again enhance the member experience. So you should know that you're mentioned in every demo I have.
How about that? I appreciate that.
Of course. All right. So what do you feel has been most influential in terms of growing the business?
There's a few things, but one of them that comes to mind is just really delivering on the promises that we make as a business, and really treating people the right way. And what I mean by that is, I think every gym in the world promises you're going to get great results, you're going to have a great time, you're going to change your life, right? And so making sure that we truly follow through on all of these commitments. And so, more specifically, what we say is our gym is beginner friendly. Our program is customized to you. And so making sure that we follow through on those things requires some level of systemization to make sure that whether I'm coaching a class or another member or whoever, or another coach rather, is leading the class, that everyone gets this consistent experience that they've been promised. And so me having the communication from that first touch point all the way through to signing up, all the way through to day 90 and beyond, being really consistent has been super key. And so, like I said, having the lead nurture system where as soon as somebody fills out the contact me form or they book an intro, those are kind of the two main ways somebody gets in contact with us. It goes to me and I call them. So instead of having it be, instead of them getting a text saying like confirming your appointment, they get, after they book it on the confirmation screen, it says, keep your phone close, we're going to give you a call in a minute. And so as soon as I can, then I'm able to get the notification from the lead connector app on my phone, boop, boop, get them on the phone. Hey, thanks for booking an intro. What are your goals? What's important to you in the gym? And start that conversation right away. And so from there, now that I know that they're here because they want structure, or they're here because they want to learn how to do weightlifting, then I can speak to those things all throughout their intro. And then once they sign up, I can communicate those things to the coach. And then once they get into classes, I can put that out to all the coaches so they know this is what's important to this person. And so being able to handle things in that way where each person is getting the service that they're looking for has been super important. And that's what's enabled us to have full classes that are really fun, and then have people start recommending that their wives, girlfriends, husbands, boyfriends, friends all come into the gym. That's been big.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yes, although I'm curious, especially when it comes to leads, right? Because it's always kind of hammered home. As soon as the lead comes in, like you got to reach right back out. Timing is everything. If you're in the middle of a class or one-on-one session and you see that contact us form has been filled out or a lead has come through, how do you typically handle that, knowing you're kind of in the middle of someone else's member experience?
Yeah. Well, there is like all the research out there, and about like speed to contact is crucial, right? The traditional story is that this person is just got a glimpse of themselves in the mirror and they were like, oh no, and they start Googling, where is a gym near me? And they do it, and you have 5 minutes to get in touch with them and confirm that, and to get them on the path, or else they're gone, right? And I certainly think there's truth to that, but in the grand scheme, I can't run my business like that because while sales is 100% on me, I have 1,000 other things that are 100% on me. And so that's where customizing the thing to say, keep your phone close, we're going to call you, I think
Yep.
has been very impactful, because then that lead is expecting a call. They know they're going to get a call from a random number on their phone, and it's probably the gym. And so if I see that come through when I'm in the middle of coaching a class or whatever, I'll just let that notification sit on my phone. I make sure not to swipe it away so that I don't forget. And then I'll just call them as soon as I have a moment. And then if they do pick up, which often they do, that's great. I've got my script I can follow then. If they don't pick up, what I do is I have a template. And if you guys on the call have not started working with templates in Grow, they are the best. I can just from the phone hit a drop down and then select my text, which is I call it "It's Matt." And so I have two. I have "It's Matt" for if they didn't book an intro, and "It's Matt" if they did book an intro. What that text says is, "Hey, name, it's Matt from ACF. Either thank you for booking an intro or thank you for reaching out. Give me a call today when you get a chance." And so that text is, again, customized to them. I make sure to get eyes on it before I send it. So if they, for example, in their contact me form put, "I just want to know your prices," then I'm not going to fluff it up a bunch and say, "Hey, it's Matt from ACF. So excited to meet you. And I can't wait to change your life," blah, blah, blah. Because I know they're coming into it stone faced, like, just tell me the numbers.
Yeah.
So I can delete the extra fluff and say, "Hey, it's Matt from ACF. Call me. Love to talk pricing with you." And so I can kind of funnel them onto the phone. And that has been really important to just kind of setting the tone and guiding them through each step. So not having a text message go out that says your appointment is confirmed, and then in their mind it's like, okay, that box is checked, I'll show up or I won't at whatever time is scheduled. Instead, it kind of keeps that task open of, we are not done in our initial communication until we talk on the phone.
Yeah. Yep. And I think, again, these are kind of small things, right? But then all the small things add up to the bigger outcome. So having a good lead conversion, all that kind of stuff. So even when it comes to things like templates, that's a very small piece of it, but it kind of keeps that efficiency. It allows you to have a quick response, but then just easily, customize it depending on the client that you have. And I think also one of the things that comes across and what you're explaining is meeting that lead, like where they're at. So if they just want pricing, just give them the pricing. You know what I mean? If they're into all the fluff, being able to meet them on that plane as well. And I think that's a big part of it too. So
Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, that makes my life so much easier, because while there's still a manual element to it, I think it's minimizing, to your point, how much manual work has to go into that, and maximizing the benefit of it, where I don't have to think, oh man, what do I say? I can just copy paste, boom.
Yep. Awesome. So in terms of Grow, which again is the client relationship management tool, what prompted you to use a system like that? Did you already, as you were starting Archetype, have in mind, this is something that I want to utilize, or were you completely starting from scratch? You had no idea about it. Tell me a little bit about what prompted that.
So before I started Archetype, I was working at another gym in Chicago that unfortunately closed because of COVID. But there we had a couple of different systems. There was a separate CRM system, a separate billing system, a separate workout tracking system, and they were all kind of hodgepodge. And one of the things that was really important to me is I knew I needed a CRM. I knew I wanted a system that could manage leads, and I knew I needed a website that would funnel people to book an intro. And when I was kind of researching the different options that are out there, what led me to PushPress is I love that all of these different pieces are connected and under one roof. And that was really important to me, so that they can smoothly integrate. And so using PushPress sites has been fantastic. PushPress built out the website. on day one with a lot of really good stock images. And then it's been great as the gym grows. And again, this walk before you run thing is when we were walking, the website was almost entirely stock images. And now we just went through another round of updates where we took down the stock images and added actual images from the gym. Initially, I didn't have a coaching staff, so we took down the coaching bios page and just we're able to put that up with photos of the coaches and all that. That's been super great. Then also having the website with an embedded calendar for people to book an intro has been perfect because it funnels people from the website directly into the CRM. When they sign up, it's all in the same system. And so that was the main thing that I wanted when starting with PushPress, was everything under one roof. And it's been great.
Nice. You're going to become a grow czar. I just know it. All right, so let's talk about some observations. So obviously you've got some months under your belt now. What's the biggest observation that you have in reflecting on just your experience to date?
That is broad. Biggest observation of my experience to date. If we're keeping it kind of from like the business owner hat, right? It's that the systems need to be the means and the ends need to be aligned. So the system that we use needs to actually lead us to the right place. If we are creating a community-oriented gym where we want this to be people's third place, who want to feel comfortable coming here and hanging out, every step along the way needs to be aligned with that. And then the other part of it is that all those steps and everything along the way also needs to be aligned with what I can handle. And so this is kind of continuing with the theme of this conversation, but customizing our processes and our systems to meet us where we're at, and then knowing that there will be a time to build them and expand them and grow them over time has been the biggest thing that stands out for me about this process so far. And it's kind of fun because right now we're in this phase where we're starting to get a little hustle going, so we've been walking for 7 months now, and now it's time to start jogging and then eventually be time to start running. And I'm kind of seeing this transition happen. I mentioned earlier that I'm now down. I've hired my coaching staff who now coaches the vast majority of the classes. And that just started happening as of this month. And so now I found myself with all this time on my hands and I can look at, okay, let's build the systems to the next level. And maybe at some point I'll actually be able to have a life outside of the gym and ingest.
Take a deep breath. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Be able to create a little bit more work-life balance and that sort of thing.
So this kind of segues into what my last question is, which is, and if it's a little redundant, we can move through it, but what would your biggest tip be to your peers?
Create systems that support what you need, for sure.
And I know we kind of touched on it in one of the earlier questions, and you've just been a theme throughout the Q&A session, but how did you, when it comes to the systems and the processes that you put in place and the whole walk before you run mentality, how did you focus in on, okay, these are going to be my priorities right now? Did you research what you thought that should be? Did you have a mentor? Did you just pick random things? How did you go about that strategically so that you could keep moving from the next group to the next and continue building?
Standing on the shoulders of giants is the easiest way to put that. I've been so fortunate to have a number of awesome people really mentor me and guide me through this process. I have like an official business coach, but I've also talked with a number of gym owners doing the CrossFit affiliate roundtables, like those Zoom things that they set up, was also super helpful. And just having a lot of conversations with people has really helped me get a clear perspective on what to prioritize. And, also talking with people outside of the fitness industry, talking with other business owners and stuff like that has just been incredibly helpful in every step of the process in guiding me towards what decisions to make when. So having conversations with people in a casual context, in an official context, somebody I'm paying, somebody who's just helping me out and getting coffee with me, anything and everything I've tried to take advantage of as much as possible.
Yeah, staying curious. That's how I always think about it. Like, just always stay curious, keep asking questions. So sounds like you're doing all of that.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that is all of my questions. So I'm going to open it up in case anybody has any additional questions if they want to drop into the chat box. We'll hang out here for a couple minutes. If no one puts anything extra in there, then I'll go ahead and give everybody a few minutes, hopefully, of their time back, and then we'll go from there. Are you tired of talking yet, Matt?
I don't really get tired of talking. Every coach out there knows.
Comes with the business. So MB asked, templates were mentioned. Where are they located? Do you want to take that? Let's test your Grow knowledge, Matt.
Yeah, let's see off the top of my head. So when you go into Grow, I believe when you go into conversations, it's at the top. If you're on the desktop version, it's at the top, and it should say templates across the top there. And then you can add text templates and email templates. I use text templates. My philosophy is that no one reads emails. I say that because I don't read emails. And so I do everything via text messaging.
Yep. You had it right. Exactly where you said it would be. It's there.
Oh, look at that.
I know, you're just killing it today, man. Yep. And the whole email and text thing, that could be like a whole separate discussion, whether people read emails or text. I'm a big believer in the text thing. I don't think many people I don't read my emails because it's all spam. So.
Right, exactly. And that was, with the journeys, member journeys is something that I'm looking into now. Initially when the big focus, I'll just keep talking until we see any more questions pop up. But
sure.
The big focus for the first couple months is just get bodies in the gym. When we opened with 35 members, which I'm stoked about, but like 35 members is like the number one priority there is just get more people in class. And so in that phase, I turned off all like the nurture automations for once people become a member. And we had there was no long-term commitment when you started. It was all month to month. We did minimal onboarding. It was 3 30-minute sessions because we knew the coaches would be able to get a lot of one-on-one time with athletes in class when we only have 5 to 7 athletes in each class.
Yeah,
exactly. But now I'm starting to rebuild these journeys that we will be doing some emailing soon with like things like sending out a nutrition guide or sending out like here's a CrossFit glossary, things like that for like useful things for people in the first 1 or 2 weeks that I'm starting to build back in.
Yeah.
Let's see. Do you have gift certificates? For example, if they buy gift card, we need to have them go to number classes. Let's see. Do you have a solution? We do not do gift certificates at ACF. The reason why is we just try to keep things as simple as possible. And what I've been recommended by a lot of like gym owners who are much better at this than I am is don't do punch cards, don't do gift certificates, just keep it simple and basically funnel everybody towards your ongoing basic membership. For me, that's been difficult. I'm a people pleaser for sure. And so when somebody comes up to me and says, hey, can you do a punch card? And I say, no, we don't do punch cards. They're like, but I travel for work and could you just do one for me? That's a challenging thing that it's been work for me to overcome.
And that's interesting too, Matt, because I think when it comes from the business standpoint, I think sometimes you feel a pressure of, I need to say yes to everything because what if I lose that opportunity to make that member happy or close that additional revenue? But also at the same point, I think there's a threshold between upholding your own value, right? And if that's what your business
Mhm.
model is, then not like caving into that out of the desire to please.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good message.
Yes. And another perspective that really helps me on that too is, why is ACF here? Or why are any of our gyms here? To get people results, to help people achieve their goals, right? And in offering like a punch card, one of the big problems with that from my perspective is also like, I can't coach someone to lose 20 pounds or to put on 5 pounds of muscle or to change their life if they're only going to come 10 times over the course of the next 6 months
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whenever or never. And so I also like to think back to the promises I make, right? Like honoring our commitments. If I'm committing to somebody that they're going to have a great experience and this is going to teach them so much, I need to also honor what that takes from their perspective, which is showing up consistently.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
do you have any insight from like what the system can do to answer MB's question about gift certificates?
No, I was actually going to tell her, MB, I will connect with you offline so we can maybe set up a follow-up call to kind of dig a little bit deeper into the gift certificates, what you might be looking to do, how we can facilitate it. So if it is something that you want to be able to offer, we can find a solution that'll work for you.
Yeah.
So we have about 3 minutes left. So if anybody has any additional questions, go ahead and drop them into the chat box.
Woohoo.
I know. This actually flew by. At one point, I
Not
was like,
bad.
I wonder if this is going to take very long, but that's what happens when you put two talkers together. So
Love it. Love it. Well, this has been a lot of fun. MB, thank you.
yes,
Thank you for asking questions and thank you
yeah,
for being engaged with us. It
absolutely.
was awesome.
Cool, guys. All right. Well, we will give you all 3 minutes, 2 minutes now of your day back. Matt, thank you again for taking the time to do this. Really appreciate it. And I'm really excited to hopefully continue these month to month and continue to provide value for all the other clients out there. So I hope you guys have an awesome day and we'll talk soon.
Thank
See
you.
ya. Bye.